There will come a moment in your life when you look in the mirror and realize the truth, that the only person who can save you is you. Not motivation, not luck, not circumstance. You. And in that moment, you'll understand something powerful, that your future will not be built by your feelings, but by your discipline. Discipline is the difference between who you are and who you know you can become. This is the turning point. The moment you stop wishing and start building. This is a message for the ones who are tired of starting over, for the ones who want more than temporary motivation, for the ones who feel a fire inside but haven't learned how to control it. Discipline is not punishment. It is self-respect. It is choosing your future over your comfort. It is showing up when nobody claps, nobody notices, and nobody believes. Discipline is the foundation of motivation that lasts, faith that strengthens, a mindset that wins, and a life that rises. You build discipline every time you do the hard thing. When you wake up early, when you train your mind, when you keep your word, when you push past excuses, when you refuse to quit. Success does not belong to the talented, it belongs to the disciplined. Because discipline turns ordinary people into unstoppable forces. It turns doubt into direction. It turns dreams into reality. So, make a decision that today is the day you take control. Today is the day you stop negotiating with your weakness. Today is the day you become the person you were meant to be. Not someday, not when it's easy, but now. If you're ready to build unshakable discipline, if you're ready to rewrite your story, if you're ready to live with power, purpose, and mental strength, subscribe now. Join this mission. Join this movement. Because the world doesn't need more people who try. It needs more people who follow through. Discipline is the bridge between who you are and who you can become, because it is the force that carries you from intention to transformation, from desire to identity, from the version of yourself that merely hopes to the version that actually achieves. It is the quiet power that turns dreams that once felt distant into realities that feel inevitable. Discipline is the proof that you are willing to honor your future self more than your temporary comfort. It is the daily choice to rise when it would be easier to stay still, to continue when stopping feels justified, to believe in your potential even when your emotions tell you otherwise. It is the foundation beneath every breakthrough, every reinvention, every moment you rise above your past limitations. Discipline is the invisible work that nobody sees, but everyone eventually notices. It shapes your character when no one is watching, and strengthens your mind when doubt whispers in your ear. It is the reminder that greatness is not a talent, but a commitment. That success is not a gift, but a responsibility. Discipline transforms your habits, and your habits transform your identity, and your identity transforms your destiny. It teaches you that consistency matters more than intensity, that forward is forward no matter how small the steps feel, that the person you are becoming is built one disciplined action at a time. Discipline is the ultimate act of self-belief, because it declares that you are worthy of effort, worthy of progress, worthy of the life you envision. It is the bridge, because, without it, your potential remains untouched, your goals remain unfinished, your brilliance remains unseen, but with it, you become unstoppable, resilient, focused, and aligned with the highest version of yourself. Discipline is not about perfection but direction, not about force but commitment, not about pressure but purpose, and every time you choose it, you move closer to the life that once felt out of reach. Your future is built by actions, not emotions or motivation alone, because feelings are temporary and unreliable, while actions are the only thing that creates movement, change, and momentum. Emotions rise and fall depending on the day, the weather, the mood, the praise, or the pressure, but actions remain solid, steady, and measurable. Motivation may spark you, but action sustains you. Motivation may excite you, but action transforms you. The life you want will never be created by waiting to feel ready, inspired, confident, or energized, because those states come and go. But disciplined action keeps going regardless. Your future is shaped by what you repeatedly do, not what you occasionally feel. Every choice, every habit, Every step becomes a brick in the structure of your destiny. When you act, even when you don't feel like it, you prove to yourself that you are in control. Not your mood, not your fear, not your doubt. Action builds certainty because every time you move forward, you collect evidence that you are capable, strong, intentional, and committed. Emotions may tell you to stop, but action teaches you to rise. Emotions may say it's too hard, but action reveals that progress is always possible. Motivation fades, but action compounds. The people who achieve the life they want are not the ones who always feel inspired, but the ones who act even when inspiration is absent. Action creates clarity, because doing reveals what thinking never can. Action builds confidence because confidence is earned through effort, not imagined through wishing. Action separates dreamers from doers, intentions from results, potential from reality. Your future is shaped in the moments where you choose action over avoidance, discipline over delay, purpose over comfort, and progress over excuses. Every small action is a seed planted in the soil of tomorrow, and eventually those seeds grow into outcomes, opportunities, and fulfillment. Your emotions may guide you, but your actions define you, and the future you desire belongs to the version of you that shows up, acts, follows through, and keeps going, even when nobody sees, applauds, or understands. Discipline is self-respect, choosing growth over comfort, because every time you choose the harder path, you are telling yourself that your future matters more than your momentary ease. Discipline is the internal promise that you refuse to break, even when no one else would know. It is the act of honoring your potential instead of surrendering to your impulses. When you wake up early, when you stay focused, when you follow through, you are proving to yourself that you are worthy of a life that reflects your highest standards. Comfort asks you to stay the same, but growth asks you to stretch, evolve, and rise. And discipline is the bridge that carries you toward that evolution. It is the quiet declaration that you deserve more than temporary pleasure, more than instant gratification, more than the softness that keeps you stuck. Discipline strengthens your identity because it reminds you that you are a person who keeps their word, who chooses their future over their excuses, who acts according to vision, not emotion. Every disciplined choice adds to your self-worth, like a deposit into your inner strength. While every time you avoid the work you know you should do, you withdraw from your confidence and belief. Discipline is not restriction, it is liberation, because it frees you from the trap of inconsistency, procrastination, and regret. Comfort feels good now, but costs you later, while discipline feels difficult now, but rewards you endlessly. Choosing growth means embracing challenge, uncertainty, repetition, and resilience. And every time you do that, you deepen your respect for the person you are becoming. Discipline is the voice that says, you are capable, you are responsible, you are in control, you are rising. And with every act of discipline, your standards rise, your habits rise, your expectations rise, and your life rises with them. Self-respect is not built through words or affirmations, but through aligned action. And discipline is the purest form of alignment because it proves that you value your purpose, your well-being, your progress, and your destiny enough to work for it even when it is uncomfortable, unexciting, or unnoticed. Success belongs to those who show up even when nobody is watching, because true growth happens in the unseen hours where there is no applause, no validation, no spotlight, and no recognition. It is in the quiet spaces where discipline is tested and character is built. Anyone can perform when people are paying attention, but the ones who win in life are the ones who keep going when the world is silent. When you practice, when you study, when you train, when you work, when you prepare, without anyone noticing, you are investing in a future that others will one day call talent, luck, or natural ability. Showing up when unseen proves that you are driven by purpose, not praise by commitment, not convenience by inner fire, not outer approval. It is easy to quit when no one will know, but it is powerful to continue, because you know. The greatest breakthroughs come from consistency that nobody witnessed. The greatest transformations come from habits that nobody celebrated. The greatest mastery comes from repetition that nobody admired. Success is earned in the hours before dawn, in the moments you choose, effort over excuses, in the days you keep going, though progress feels invisible, because every unseen effort compounds, every unnoticed step builds momentum, every private victory prepares you for a public one. The world sees the results, but never the sacrifices, and that is why showing up when unseen separates the ordinary from the exceptional. When you do the work without needing validation, you become unstoppable, because nothing can be taken from you, and nothing can be used to control you. Success belongs to those who train their mind to stay the course, who refuse to rely on motivation, who act out of discipline and identity. The reward always comes later, but the proof of who you are is revealed now, in the quiet, in the solitude, in the persistence that nobody else witnesses. Greatness is built in the shadows, long before it shines in the light. Faith, motivation, and mindset strengthen when discipline is practiced daily, because discipline becomes the anchor that holds you steady. When emotions shift, when challenges rise, and when doubt tries to pull you backward, faith grows, not by wishing, but by witnessing yourself follow through day after day. Every time you keep a promise to yourself, you build evidence that you can trust your own hands, your own effort, your own decisions, and that evidence becomes the foundation of unshakable faith. Motivation becomes stronger when it is supported by habits, because you no longer rely on bursts of inspiration to move forward. Instead, momentum begins to carry you, and momentum is created through consistent, disciplined action. Mindset evolves when discipline reshapes the way you think about struggle, discomfort, and persistence. What once felt difficult becomes normal. What once felt overwhelming becomes manageable. What once felt impossible becomes achievable. Daily discipline trains the mind to associate effort with progress rather than pain, with resistance rather than fear, with weakness rather than doubt. Every disciplined action rewires your beliefs, because you begin to see yourself as someone capable, someone committed, someone growing. Faith is no longer a fragile hope, but a grounded certainty, because you have proof within your actions. Motivation becomes internal rather than external, because you are fueled by purpose, not hyped by meaning, not moved by direction, not impulse. Mindset becomes stronger, because discipline teaches you to stay focused when distracted, to stay calm when pressured, to stay resilient when tested. Daily discipline builds inner strength, brick by brick, and that strength becomes the shield that protects your goals from discouragement, comparison, and insecurity. Faith expands because you learn that you can endure difficulty and still move forward. Motivation expands because you learn that progress is always available. Mindset expands because you learn that your limits were never real, only untrained. Discipline is the quiet teacher, the invisible mentor, the constant guide that shapes your inner world until your inner world becomes powerful enough to shape your outer reality. When discipline becomes a lifestyle, your faith becomes unwavering, your motivation becomes renewable, your mindset becomes unbreakable. You begin to think differently, act differently, believe differently, and eventually live differently. The person who practices discipline daily becomes someone who cannot be swayed by setbacks, slowed by emotions, or stopped by fear, because their strength does not come from how they feel, but from what they repeatedly choose. And with every day of discipline, your inner world rises, your confidence rises, your clarity rises, and the life you once doubted becomes the life you now embody. Doing the hard things consistently creates unstoppable inner power, because every time you choose the path that challenges you, you strengthen the parts of yourself that would have stayed weak if life were always easy. The hard things push you beyond comfort, and in that stretch, you discover capacity you never knew you had. When you wake up early, when you train your mind, when you stay disciplined, when you resist distraction, when you show up despite fatigue, you are building an internal force that does not break under pressure. Doing the hard things teaches you resilience, because you learn that discomfort is temporary, but growth is permanent. You learn that fear loses its power when you move through it instead of away from it. You learn that obstacles are not stop signs, but training grounds, preparing you for the next level of your life. The people who avoid hard things stay the same, but the people who face them evolve. They expand their courage, their patience, their self-control, their emotional strength, their confidence, and their belief in what they can overcome. Consistency is what multiplies this power, because doing something hard once may feel impressive, but doing it repeatedly transforms it into identity. You begin to see yourself as someone who can handle difficulty, someone who keeps going, someone who follows through, someone who is stronger than excuses. Inner power grows in the moments where quitting would be easier, but you continue anyway, in the moments where no one would judge you for stopping, but you push anyway, in the moments where your mind says you can't, but your actions say you will. The hard things sharpen your focus, because you learn to prioritize effort over ease, discipline over desire, purpose over pleasure, and vision over comfort. They build emotional toughness, because you stop crumbling under stress and start rising above it. You stop reacting impulsively and start responding intentionally. You stop fearing failure and start using it. The more you do the hard things, the less intimidating they become, because your nervous system adapts, your perspective expands, and your tolerance for challenge increases. Soon, what once felt impossible becomes normal, and what once felt overwhelming becomes routine. Unstoppable. Inner power is not loud, it is quiet, not dramatic, but steady, not temporary, but permanent. It is the strength that carries you through adversity, rejection, setbacks, silence, and uncertainty. It is the force that makes you unstoppable, not because life becomes easier, but because you become stronger than anything life puts in front of you. Greatness begins the moment you stop negotiating with your excuses, because every excuse, no matter how reasonable or logical it sounds, is a barrier that keeps you from stepping into the life you are capable of living. Excuses disguise themselves as protection, but in truth, they are limitations, dressed as comfort. Every time you tell yourself you are too tired, too busy, too overwhelmed, too uncertain, you are handing your power to the weakest parts of you. Negotiation with excuses is the internal conversation that convinces you to stay the same, to delay, to shrink, to wait for a better time that never comes. Greatness requires a shift, where you stop asking whether you feel like it and start acting because you said you would. When you stop negotiating, you reclaim authority over your habits, your direction, your identity, and your future. Excuses whisper that you can start tomorrow, but greatness knows tomorrow is built by what you do today. Excuses tell you that one missed day won't matter, but greatness understands that what you do consistently becomes who you are permanently. The moment you stop entertaining excuses, you begin to rise above the average, because most people live in a cycle of intention, without execution, desire without discipline, dreams without follow-through. Greatness begins with the decision that your goals deserve loyalty, your purpose deserves effort, and your potential deserves action. Excuses weaken your self-belief, because every time you choose them, you prove to yourself that you cannot rely on your own word. But when you stop negotiating, you strengthen your confidence, because you show yourself that you mean what you say and you say what you mean. Greatness grows in the space where you choose progress over comfort, where you choose commitment over convenience, where you choose action over avoidance. When you stop negotiating with your excuses, you stop living at the mercy of your feelings and start living by the power of your standards. Excuses keep you stuck in the identity of who you used to be, while action moves you into the identity of who you are becoming. Greatness does not require perfection. It requires refusal. Refusal to quit. Refusal to delay. Refusal to talk yourself out of what you know you need to do. The moment you silence the inner voice that says later and replace it with now, you become unstoppable, because nothing has more power than a person who follows through, regardless of emotion. Your excuses may feel familiar, but greatness demands that you step beyond what is familiar and into what is necessary. The world changes the moment you change yourself, and you change yourself the moment you stop giving power to the parts of you that prefer ease over evolution. Greatness begins not with applause, but with a decision to act when no one is watching, to push when it feels uncomfortable to rise, when it would be easier to rest. And that decision, once made again and again, becomes the turning point that transforms your entire life. Commitment to discipline today rewrites the direction of your entire life, because the choices you make in this moment shape the person you become tomorrow, and every small action compounds into a future that looks entirely different from the one you would have lived if you had stayed the same. Discipline today means you stop drifting and start steering. It means you stop reacting and start creating. It means you stop hoping and start building. Every disciplined choice is like a compass adjustment, shifting your trajectory, even if only by a degree. But over time, those degrees transform into a completely new destination. When you commit today, you interrupt the patterns that once held you back. The procrastination, the inconsistency, the self-doubt, the emotional decision-making, and you replace them with intention, structure, and momentum. Discipline today means fewer regrets later, fewer what-ifs, fewer moments spent wishing you had started sooner. It means you step into responsibility rather than excuses and ownership rather than avoidance. Commitment today plants seeds that grow into opportunities, confidence, strength, and freedom. Your life does not change in the future. It changes now. In the moments where discipline replaces hesitation, every time you choose discipline, you reinforce a new identity. The identity of someone capable, someone reliable, someone focused, someone destined for more. And identity shapes behavior, and behavior shapes destiny. Discipline today creates ripple effects in your health, your mindset, your finances, your relationships, your self-worth, and your sense of purpose. When you choose discipline now, you begin to trust yourself, because you are no longer breaking promises to your future, and that trust becomes the fuel that drives long-term transformation. The direction of your life shifts because your standards rise, and when your standards rise, your life must follow. Commitment today means you stop waiting for motivation, waiting for clarity, waiting for confidence, waiting for the perfect moment, and instead, you create those things through action. Confidence comes from doing, clarity comes from movement, motivation comes from progress, and progress comes from discipline. Today is the only day you can influence, and when you influence today powerfully, the future bends in your favor. Discipline creates options because it expands your abilities, your resilience, your resourcefulness, and your belief that you can shape your own reality. Without discipline, life happens to you, but with discipline, life is shaped by you. Commitment today is the turning point where you stop living by default and start living by design. And that design becomes stronger every time you repeat the choice to do what needs to be done rather than what feels easy. Discipline today changes your internal story, the narrative you tell yourself about who you are, what you can become, and what you are capable of achieving. The direction of your life shifts the moment you realize that small, consistent, disciplined actions outperform massive, sporadic efforts every time. Your future success, your future strength, your future stability, your future peace, all begin with discipline practiced today. Not tomorrow, not later, not someday. When you commit now, you create alignment between your desires and your actions, and alignment is the force that accelerates achievement. Discipline today teaches you patience, endurance, and long-sighted thinking, because you stop chasing quick comfort and start pursuing lasting fulfillment. And as the days stack, the weeks stack, the months stack, you look back and realize everything changed, not because of one dramatic moment, but because you decided to honor today again and again. Commitment to discipline today is the rewrite of your story, the redirection of your path, the awakening of your potential, and the beginning of the life you were meant to live. In the end, it all comes down to a choice to rise, a choice to become the person you were meant to be, a choice to build a life defined not by excuses, but by action, not by fear, but by faith, not by temporary comfort, but by unstoppable discipline. This is your moment to draw a line in the sand and step into a future you can be proud of. Because the world may doubt you, circumstances may test you, and your feelings may try to hold you back, but discipline will carry you forward every single time. So stand up, claim your power, honor your potential, and decide that today is the day you begin. Not tomorrow, not someday, but now. Because the life you want is waiting, and the only thing between you and it is the courage to take the first step and keep taking it until everything you once dreamed becomes everything you now live.